we hack the code and flip the tag. Where cliches come to retire. Drop that beat, turn down to fire. Say what's real, make fears take a seat. Unconventional wisdom, dancing on your feet. Hey.
Hello and welcome to Unconventional Wisdom about conventional wisdom. I'm your host, Kim Miller-Hershon. I am excited to talk to Kristine Kilty today. I know that you are just going to love her, and she has a really interesting background. So let me tell you a little bit about her. So she does creative and fashion direction. So over 15 years, she has international experience across luxury brands, haute couture, and high jewelry. She is recognized for balancing artistry with strategic leadership, bringing creative vision, structured execution, and measurable impact. And her work spans editorial and campaign direction for leading titles, including Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, South China Morning Post, alongside operations with the houses of Chanel, Dior, and Chaumet. And she also has directed and styled high profile talent across fashion, film, music, and sport. And some of the people that she has styled includes Lewis Hamilton, Naomi Harris, Greta Gerwig, Nick Jonas, Boy George, Leona Lewis, and she also works as a consultant. The name of her consultancy is the Fierce Group, and she consults with luxury brands to elevate the image direction and refine and articulate the brand codes across visual merchandising and global styling initiatives. She also has a book and curates a jewelry brand. This is one accomplished and busy woman. So
Great to be here.
yeah, we're excited to talk to you. So, my first random question. So, you have done a lot of fashion shoots, and we are dying to know what is one of the wildest things that's happened behind the scenes on a fashion shoot?
Okay, I think one of the wildest things was it was a shoot that I did in a nightclub, a crazy nightclub in New York. So I had this idea of all these disco divas. I thought we're going to make it a modern day Studio 54. It's going to be fabulous. We're going to shoot it at 3 o'clock in the morning. And we got this fantastic model, all these amazing designer clothes, got to the club, went upstairs. And what I completely underestimated in my direction and planning is that I would be in a room full of people that were completely drunk and high. So I really did get that wild scene that I wanted, but I completely overlooked that. So that was like one shocker of the night. And then the second was I was just dressed in black jeans, a black vest, really casual. And for some reason, the people in the nightclub thought that I was too young to be there. So every time we went into the VIP area to do the shoot, the security kept on trying to kick me out. And ironically, I was about 36 at the time, and I had to send my assistant, one of my interns, in to style the shoot for the first half because the security wouldn't let me through. So yeah, I think that was one of my wildest memories of being on a photo shoot.
That's awesome. And ultimately, were you happy with how it turned out?
Yeah, I loved it. It looked exactly how I wanted it to look, but I didn't think it was going to be as wild as it really was.
Yeah.
But I did ask for a modern day Studio 54, and I certainly got that.
That's awesome. I love that. All right, let's go into a little bit of your journey. And the first question I really want to ask you is what's one piece of conventional business wisdom that you believed was the thing that was going to make you successful that you later realized really was not right for you?
So I think this idea that you need to grind and be both so busy and hustle in order to be successful, and you hear the narrative played out that hard work equals success, but you can also do what you love and have a lot of fun and become very successful. And people tend not to talk about that. And for me, I think in the beginning of my career, I really focused on that hustle and grind. But actually, what I've come to find is it's more clarity and vision, which is going to lead to the results and lead to the success. And for me, that's what I focus on a lot now. I know this has become so buzzwordy in social media, nervous system regulation, but for me, for the last 6 years, that's what I really focus on and pour my time in to every day is regulating my nervous system so I can be present, so that I can have that clarity, I can have that vision. I'm not interested in doing all of these to-do lists where you have to do 20 steps to get to your result, because you can come up with really great ideas and just everything miraculously shifts in the right way and you can go from step 1 to step 20. So I'm a big believer in having the vision, holding the vision, and not worrying too much about the how. And I think that certainty comes with practice over years. It's having the confidence, but it's also practicing that you know that you can hold it and you know that it's going to work out. It does take a lot of time to undo all of that programming that you need to hustle and grind. But certainly since I've shifted, things have changed for me dramatically.
In my coaching practice, that idea of I have to work hard for my money, right? Work has to be hard. I have to grind because that's what success is. I think that intertwined thing and helping people untangle that is is a very common, it's a very common thing. Um,
Absolutely. And it takes a lot of time to get untangled. It's
exactly.
not a linear route.
And I think somebody actually said to me recently, very successful entrepreneur and businesswoman, said to me, because I was saying to her, kind of that Dan Sullivan, Ben Hardy, like 10x is easier than 2x, right? You can 10x your business and work less. She was saying to me, like, what would I do with extra time? It really took me aback. I think what I wanted to say is that you're not saying that you don't work, but I do think that there is a mindset shift that you're really talking about, right? It's not necessarily about the amount of hours that you work, what work you take on, how you feel about the work that you do. You said an interesting word, which is fun, right? Enjoying the work that you take on.
This is it. We can have fun. We can love our jobs. And a lot of it is how effective we are with our time, because you could sit there for 8, 10 hours and be not so effective. You could work for 2 hours, be really locked in and be super effective. So it's just lining up your day so that when it's time to work, you're working and you're working 100% with no distractions. And I
Right.
think that's a real game changer and a shift.
What's really funny, and you tell me if this ever happens to you,
Yeah.
is that I don't know, sometimes I'll maybe see a class at the gym, right? In the middle of the day or the middle of the morning or something that is interesting to me. Or I don't know, I play mahjong, right? And so there's a bagel shop that has mahjong in morning. And listen, like you, I own my own business. So I am the master of my own schedule. If I want to go take a class or go play mahjong in the middle of the day, my boss would let me do that. What is so interesting is that I get caught in two things. One is saying, no, I should be working, right? What do you
Mm.
mean? Go do something in the middle of the day, right? And then the second thing is that would they think I have a legitimate business? Right? Like judgment from other people. No, I'm not retired. I run a full time business. And as much as I can joke about it, I will tell you, it plays on me.
Yeah, the
Right?
guilt. And I think everyone who has their own business faces this, that, oh God, I shouldn't be going to the gym, or I haven't worked hard enough, or there's still so much stuff that needs to be done. And
Right?
there will always be things that need to be done. And a lot of it is having that conversation with yourself and saying, why am I feeling guilty? Why am I doing this? What else would I be doing in my time? How does my body feel? And if you're tired, you need to rest and actually listen to your body.
Right.
And yeah,
And I think you really hit on a very important point, which is that you're starting the conversation with yourself in a different place, right? So often what happens is we start from the place of, can I go to the gym? Can I not go to the gym? What else do I need to do? And it's a very tactical thing, right? And what you're saying is really asking yourself a very different question, which is, what do I need to restore myself? Will I be more effective if I go work out and then come home and really use that 2 hours to really make things happen? Right. And
absolutely.
what if I actually just decide that I'm just going to read for an hour, right? I think people will be like, oh, I could justify going to the gym because there's scientific proof that if you get the endorphins going, then you'll be more productive. But what if you do something that's actually not productive, just restorative?
Yeah, a lot of spiritual teachers would say that's the work and that's what you have to do. And that's actually going to lead to the golden nuggets and the results. So I
Yeah.
think it's unlearning a lot of what we've been taught over the years through family, through culture, through TV, that everything needs to be a big hustle.
Right.
And really recognize when we're feeling guilt and we're feeling shame around doing nothing. And when you see that, that's huge. And there's a difference between that when you're just procrastinating and being lazy, because you need to recognize that too. But really feeling into your body and having those
Mhm.
conversations with yourself so you know where you're coming from and
Yeah.
therefore you know whether you need to react or not react.
Yeah, and it's funny because you're reminding me because I haven't been doing this, but I have an app. They also have a physical diary if you prefer to do it called the 5 Minute Journal. And if we can find it, we'll have no affiliation to it, but we'll put the link in the chat. And what it's really supposed to be is just this how you set yourself up in the morning. And it has a lot of things that you would expect, right? Like gratitude and meditation and setting intentions, which are all good things. I think, though, the reason I'm mentioning it is they ask, honestly, the most brilliant question, which gets to what you're talking about, which is, what do I need to make today great? And although I'm not sure I love the word great because it sounds a
Yeah.
little cheesy, right? But I think it's a directed way to do what you're talking about, which is in with yourself. And what do I need today? Right? Which is a very different question, right? I think the I'm going to make today a great day and I'm a money magnet and right. And I'm grateful for the sunshine. And those are all, I think, if I'm sounding sarcastic, I really don't mean to be because I actually do think those things energetically are quite good for us. And I think setting an intention that today is going to be a good day or like very specifically what you want to happen in the day. But that question about checking in with yourself, what do I actually need today? I'm
So
like,
important.
that's a good one, right?
Yeah. And to get to your point of the affirmations and the energetics, I totally agree. It can go off and be very floaty. You can't just sit there and meditate all day and then expect your business to run and ta-da! You've got like a Porsche on the driveway and everything's great. You do have to make a plan. And for me, I find through the meditation, I'll have inspired action. But then the minute the meditation is over, I'm like, okay, take the inspired action. There's
Right,
no putting it off. I immediately take the action. If that means
right,
texting someone or sending the email or this is what I got to do, or even if I don't have time, then I'm like, okay, let's schedule it. Where within the next week can I put this in? It's locked in, it's happening. So I think that's the difference. You check in, you see how you're feeling, but also when you get the inspired action to take, you take it and you don't sit on it. And I think that's the
right.
difference between kind of gratitude lists and floating around with affirmations and actually using the energetics to make business work.
Ooh, love that. All right. I'm inspired. Oh, all
Great.
right. So you've had a lot of success in your career. And what's one thing that on the outside people are like, oh, she's got that locked in, that on the inside you are still working on?
For me, that is showing up on social media and all of these platforms now. I completely understand the power of visibility because I have worked within that industry for years on the other side of the camera. But I do find when it comes to the posting on LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok, you can be part of this noise. And there's so much noise at the moment and very little substance. However, it's very easy to get sucked into that because you feel like you should be doing it. Now, founders and business owners, they're needing to show up and be the face for the brand, talk in sound bites, almost be television presenters. And it can be really time consuming, as I'm sure. So for me, I'm still figuring that out, especially with launching my book. I need to show up and I want to be authentic and I genuinely want to reach readers who are aspiring stylists that I can help. But I'm also trying to balance it out with I know where my strengths are for my own business and I need to make sure that I'm not being taken away from that. So
Right.
I have great admiration for all of the content creators and people who do it full time because it's a huge time vampire. It
Yeah.
takes days with everything. So for me, I'm just really trying to map out where I fit into that and not being sucked into the noise and not just posting and
Mhm.
creating content because I feel like I need to, and
Right.
actually just holding back and saying, this is what I honestly have time for, and this is what I want to say, and batching it, and then it's going to go out on my own timeline, and not because other people say you need to be posting on TikTok every day and X amount of posts. And it's going to happen with the way that I can make it flow. So that's the part I'm still figuring out.
I would agree with you. I have all kinds of feelings about social media, but I think I love the groundedness of what you just said. I think, and you tell me, it sounds like a little bit of what you said, which is I get very, I think, confused and taken with they say, right? The experts say. Listen, I don't know
Yeah.
about you, maybe it is, but my goal is not to be a viral TikTok, right? Like, I am not looking for a video that I create that gets a million plus views, right? Because I think the other thing is too, is that sort of what you're saying, like you've got a target. I like my thing is you want to help aspiring fashion stylists, right?
Yes.
My thing is really pushing against that one size fits all, right? I want to work with senior people who feel like they have been playing by the rules and either they're getting the results that they're looking for and it is stressing them out, or they're not getting the kind of success that they want because they're playing by somebody else's rules, right? So that's not everybody. It's not
Mm,
everybody, right? But,
absolutely.
right? But I think for the people that we are meant to help, that's who we want to reach. But like I said, I get very caught in the you should, right? You should, like you said, post 4 times a day and learn this algorithm and keyword this. And I am like, that is a lot.
But it's a lot. And from working the other side of things, working with a lot of A-list celebrities and sports stars and musicians, I really see the teams that they have behind them for the launches and the press tours and the diary and the scheduling. And there's a whole social media team with one person or two people are looking after each platform. So We get sucked into this, we should, when it comes to social media, but I don't think we realize how many people
Yeah,
are in the mechanics operating behind a lot of these very big influencers or
that's right.
people in the media. So I always have to keep bringing myself back to that and saying, okay, I know it was like 25 people on that team for that launch, and there's just me doing my Instagrams. Don't beat yourself up if you're not hitting 4 posts a day. And I think it goes back to what you're saying about playing by your own rules and really working with what is best for you.
I love that. So, if you could rewrite the rule book on leadership, what's one outdated belief you'd throw away and what would you replace it with?
I would throw away the generic corporate language that seems to be within a lot of the very big companies. To me, it sounds very outdated, unexciting, homogenized, and a bit flat. And what I really encourage people is to come and bring their ideas with their own voice. I want to hear people's unique
Mm.
voices. And we all need to understand that people communicate differently. We all have different styles. So you have people who are verbal, non-verbal, some people who are great with written, some that are more visual. So learning to actively listen and be present and understand the different communication styles that people are bringing to the table. And that is not one size fits all cookie cutter corporate
Yeah.
language. And I think it's really crucial, particularly for me as a creative, to be surrounded by really brilliant people from different hairstylists, makeup artists, media buyers, people who are so much better than me in their area of expertise. And also people from diverse backgrounds who bring diverse perspectives, who will not only challenge me, but also push the ideas forward. So I think really, yeah, getting rid of corporate language and having people own their own voice and their own communication style is
Hmm.
essential.
Yeah. Wow. Absolutely. I think that is one thing I do see in companies very much is that there is acceptable and unacceptable language. You know, it's really interesting. You know what it makes me think of? Before I started my business, my last, as I like to call it, my last job. I was working in an engineering firm. And let's just say, me in an engineering firm. And what's really interesting is, although, you know what, here's the other piece is that I did really try to mold myself to fit into that environment. And sometimes, though, I think I'll never forget this. I remember the whole office was called to an all hands meeting. We were all sitting around the conference table, and the he was called the office manager, but he was an engineer, right? Not admin. He ran this office. And he said, there's going to be a layoff, like a company wide layoff. We had 22 offices around the entire world. And our office actually, like revenue wise, was actually doing very well, right? So he just says there's going to be layoffs, right? And he doesn't say anything more. So I am the one who says, are we going to have layoffs in this office? Because that's what everybody wants to know.
That's the
And
question everybody's asking.
is this going to affect me? Because again, it wasn't obvious in the sense of we actually were hitting our numbers. So it wasn't obvious. And you know what he said to me? It was like in the group, but I wish you hadn't asked that question. And I literally walked out of that meeting and I called my husband and I'm like, okay, I'm gone. That's the end. Right.
It
And,
was a fair question to ask.
and I was just like, and sure enough, the next day there were two people in our office that got laid off, me and one other person. And you know what's really interesting now that I think about it? So this was an engineering firm, and I was doing business development and marketing. And you know, The other person that got laid off, they had an architect in that office. So all the other professionals were engineers. So there was one architect and there was one business development person, which was me. And the two different people got laid off. And all they kept in that office were the engineers and admin from the engineers. Very interesting, right? So
So same.
that's right.
Nothing's gonna change.
Nothing's going to change. We only want very traditional. And in a lot of ways, the universe did for me what I couldn't do for myself. But it's just an example of we don't want diverse thought here, right? We don't
Mm.
want talk about we're enabling the jargon. We're enabling the group speak because we only want people who all think alike here. Yeah.
Mm. I wonder how much growth that company has had over the years, or has it just stayed the same?
You know what? They got bought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think in a lot of ways, maybe unfortunately not in the most healthy or positive ways, but when I look back on that experience and how the whole company was managed, I think it really helped me be a better coach to managers and leaders because it wasn't just what happened to me, but I watched them manage the other executives, the other managers, and I would say they could have done a much better job of that, right? And they did some pretty egregious things. And I was like, I think with distance, I was like, how could that look different? No shame or blame, but how could that have worked better? Because they were smart. I was going to say people. It was an engineering firm. So we're not talking about people. We are talking about men. Oh, let's just call it a spade. And I think that was formative.
It sounds like it was a blessing in disguise, Kim. So you get to bring your gifts and your talent to the world. And had that not
Yeah.
happened, you could still be there
Yeah.
grinding
Oh my
away and
God.
just not
Yeah.
enjoying life. So
Yeah.
everything happens for a reason. But yes, as you say, when you see things that are not particularly nice or haven't been handled well, it's always best to think, how could I do it better? How could I change things? What would the different circumstances be? But also, it's not usually the event, it's usually 5 steps before the event, what needed to change back then so we
Right.
didn't get to this position. There's always great lessons in everything.
Which I'm just going to put a plug in for what both of us do, right? Because I do think that your book and helping stylists come up, they read that book, they're going to avoid some of those mistakes or they're going to be able to identify some of the preemptive steps that they need to do, right? You've done so many fashion shoots, right? What I was thinking is like what you need to do 5 steps beforehand, that just comes with experience, right?
Absolutely. I think you've got to definitely with styling and having an international career where you're flying around the world and the clothes get flown around the world from all the different brands, something's going to go wrong. You just have to expect it
Right.
and that be 5, 10 steps ahead. But equally, if things don't go your way, don't hold on to it so tightly. Be very quick to shift and flow
Right.
and move like water, not stuck
Right.
and fixed on an outcome. Everything can change. And I think that's the really great thing about working as a stylist and as a creative director, because you're on shoot, you're in set, everything's happening in the moment. There's no, oh, we'll change that next week in a debrief, or we'll do this, or we'll do it. It all has to be shot and perfect on the day. So you just make it happen. So
Right.
you automatically take on that mindset and that way of working where you expect the unexpected and you just go with it and you dance within the pandemonium and you go and have a laugh over drinks when it's all over.
Exactly. I think that attitude can, I think, benefit a lot of us, right?
Mm.
Of you're going to go with the flow, you're going to make it work. I actually been working quite a bit on this. I am a planner. I am a logistics queen, right? Just ask my family. They will tell you. And when it works, I have thought of every detail and it makes things flow. I'm a good solution oriented person in terms of figuring it out, but my attitude is a little slower to turn when things don't go as planned, right? And so I'm really working on that.
It's a skill to just learn to change direction. I'm a massive planner, and we'll have a production team, and they're massive planners. That's their job. But also, you know that you're always spinning plates and everything's
Mhm.
up in the air. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just not getting too fixed when things, I know it can be frustrating. And sometimes I say, okay, I'm going to allow myself 30 seconds to be frustrated and literally have a blowout in my mind where I'm like, and then once that 30 seconds is over, I'm like, okay, has that solved it? No, it hasn't. So what do I need to do to solve it? Let's
Right.
move on. So I have that
Right.
conversation with myself and change quite quickly.
Yeah. You know, where I can get very caught up is having a crowd or a delay or a line when I'm not expecting it, right? Because I'm such an efficiency person. I like things to move. And it's funny, right? Because with our phones and we can entertain ourselves anywhere, right? So,
Mm.
all right, I'm going to work on this. All right, I'll let you know. I'll give you an update about how I'm conquering this. But I think
Can't wait to
I'm
hear.
yeah, I'm on this. I'm on it. Okay.
Great.
All right. And you've given us actually some great tidbits already, but if you had to identify one unconventional habit or mindset shift that's helped you grow your actual business, what would you say that is?
So we've already touched on this a lot, but it's definitely I work less to achieve more. And let me explain how I got to that point. So I was that person who would work on the flights. So Los Angeles to London, great, I've got 10 hours to work on my computer. Or always replying to emails, always on the phone, busy. Sure, I'll take that call at 11 o'clock my time because it works for you. No boundaries. And when it came to even seeing friends who were doing body brushing and moisturizing after the shower and all of these things, I'm like, where does anyone get time to do this stuff? I don't have time. And I lived in busy mode, which not being able to switch off, which I now know is a very dysregulated nervous system when you can't stop and you are a workaholic. So I am like a recovering workaholic. I have to put that out there. But the reason I changed was not because I worked with a coach or someone told me, oh, you need to do this, and I took it on, because to be honest, I probably wouldn't have listened at the time.
Mm.
But during the pandemic, and I was exercising at home when we were all in our lockdown, and I smashed a weight into the back of my head, so the top and the back of my head, and I gave myself a really serious brain injury. So all of a sudden, I was in bed for 6 months. I had slurred speech. I couldn't look at screens. I had memory loss. I couldn't listen to music. I just literally had to lie there for 6 months. And in that 6 months, I concentrated on doing a lot of visualization and meditation because I was bored. I was like, I've got to do something, but I didn't have the energy to do a lot. And this is where the penny really dropped for me, because I would have a short burst in the day where I'm like, okay, I can do something for my business. So I'd have a 5 to 15 minute window, or I could do one thing. So in that time, I was like, okay, I'm functioning, I can do what I have to do. And I would just, what is the one thing that's going to move things forward? What is the one thing? And that wasn't responding to messages or looking at my emails or doing anything. What is the one thing? And I stuck to that and did that one thing and then went back to bed. And surprisingly, that combined with visualization and lots of rest became my most successful financial year to date. So I thought, okay, this kind of works, just doing the big, powerful thing you have to do. And a lot of that is delegating. It's not just, oh, I have to take it on myself. It's like, no, I don't need to take this on. Who needs to do it? And I think also I was probably someone who wouldn't have been so confident delegating and would have taken too much work on. But in that situation, everything was taken from me. So it had to be delegated and I had to trust
Right.
people. And yeah, just really doing that one thing and focusing on what matters. What I noticed is it was 6 weeks in bed. It took about 2.5 years to start getting better, to be able to have meetings and work on the computer and do everything. But I noticed I started to try and slip into my busy mode. And then I was quite literally getting into my own way. I was sabotaging myself. I wasn't getting the results, wasn't getting the jobs, wasn't business developing. And I thought, okay, where am I going wrong? And I could see that I was so scrambled in that busy mode again. And that's what really led me to taking a step back to do less. And now I focus on three key things every day, and I plan it out ahead of a week in advance. And sometimes it changes, but it's what are the three things that are going to really move the business forward today? And then I do those things. And then I do, if there's time, I do the other tasks. So it's really understanding where your focus needs to go, what's going to move the
Right.
needle, and not wasting your time when your time is so precious. So, yeah, working less actually can lead to achieving more.
Oh, I love that. As a productivity expert, you are speaking my language
Oh,
here.
great.
Yeah. And I do want to emphasize the what are the three things I need to get done this week? I'm going to even add for the listener when you figure out what your top priorities are, here is what I suggest. You open your calendar on your phone and put those three priorities as a all-day event on the top of your calendar so that you just see that every time you open your phone, you put it as a recurring event for 5 days for that week. If you once you get the thing done, take it off the calendar, right? So then you've only got two things. You get all the things done, then you've got no things on the calendar for that week. And I really do think it helps you keep your priorities front and center. One thing that's come up a bunch recently in with my clients is in some of the speaking I've been doing is you want to know what your priorities are? Look at your calendar because how
Mm.
you're spending time your time are your priorities. Whether whatever you say is one thing, how you spend your time, those are your priorities, right?
Absolutely. And we need to understand that pouring into ourselves in order to be like that athlete that shows up and wins the race, because we are that person in our business. That actually takes time and that actually takes work, and it's not things to be guilty about. So for me, I schedule my day. I love what you're saying about the calendar. I'm going to give that a try. For me, I schedule my day in blocks. So in the morning, I do get up at 5:30 a.m. and I don't look at my phone. And I think that's hugely important. Don't get sucked into everything that's out there first thing in the morning. And I prioritize what's going to make me feel better, which therefore is going to make my business run better. So, first thing, I do my meditation, EFT tapping, breath work, a bit of journaling, gratitude, all of those wonderful things, and then some movement. So, I get the exercise out of the way, or I do the stretching and all of that stuff. And then by the time my morning starts, I'm feeling really great. And all of those things that we normally put off and say, when I have time, I will do that for myself. I do that every day first for myself. So I always feel really great and really productive. And then the second thing is I have hours that I work. So I block the time that I'm going to be working. And I have an app on my phone which just switches all of the alerts off. So once it's on, I'm like, okay, it's a 2 hour block. No one can get through on anything. And then I'm just doing what I'm doing. And I think having a break during the day. So I have an alarm that goes off on my phone at 1 o'clock. And I go into my room and I just lie across a bolster and stretch a bit, because we can really get in this position when we're working on a computer. It's not great for the neck. And I stretch. Maybe I listen to a podcast, then I eat some healthy food, and then the alarm goes off at 2 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, I'm straight back into the work. I have an alarm that goes off at 5:30, and I get myself out, stretch my legs, go for a walk in nature. And honestly, breaking the day up like that by scheduling the priorities, as you say, the things that are going to make you work better, feel better, they have to be included in those priorities that you're scheduling, because life just isn't work.
Right.
And it isn't just a to-do list for the business, because especially if you are a business owner, you are the business. So you have to be operating at 100% in order for everything else to be at 100%. So yeah, that's my priority for scheduling, is self-care as much as it is the work, because it's all work at the end of the day, just in different compartments of life.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Kristine, my friend, this has just been amazing. We have gone around the world and back again. And I think there's so many gems here, and there is so much, I think, for the listener to take away. And this is one of the podcasts, listener, that I would say take some action, right? We gave you today, between the two of us, mostly Kristine, but a little bit of me, some really good things to actually take action on. So go out there. If you want to tell us what you did, like this podcast, give us some ideas about what actions you took or what you think about what your routine is, because this is a great conversation. So Kristine's book is called Fashion Stylist. We'll put the link to it so you can buy the book. For me, I would love you to subscribe to my newsletter. It comes out once a week. It talks just about one thing. And I always, Kristine, you'll love this, there's always a style. If you're listening to this on audio, I am quite a colorful person, and there is always a style picture in there of some sort. Thank you so much for listening. This is Kim Miller-Hershon, Kim Miller-Hershon Coaching and Consulting. You've been listening to Unconventional Wisdom about conventional wisdom with my guest, Kristine Kilty. Go out there and be a better human.
Where cliches come to retire. Drop that beat, turn down to fire. Say what's real, make fears take a seat. Unconventional wisdom, dancing on your feet. Hey!